I can't go on, I'll go on. Apparently, the only way to heal and move forward is to embrace your feelings, including pain. So last year I read some books on addiction, and I feel like a lot of the lessons have been resurfacing lately. I'm surprised by how applicable they are to seemingly less intense problems like anxiety or general relationships. But honestly, overdoses, compulsions, attachment, trauma, it's all just one giant circle. And I can't stop thinking about this one particular line from In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate. He's advising loved ones on how to deal with an addict, and he says, if you're living your life and I'm mentally living your life, who's over here living mine? We're both over there. Oh shit. He's right. Been kind of doing that my whole life. That rhymed. But I've been living in this weird, liminal, fucked up headspace that's somewhere over there. Imagining someone, imagining me, feeling desperate to be seen, trying to figure out what I could do to fix myself or fix them so that harmony can finally be restored and all feel loved, I think. Sometimes I'll pause to tell myself, hey Esther, and I'll literally jump at my own self-acknowledgement. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, hi, here I am, I exist. This returning to self has been pretty intense, mostly because it requires me to be alone and present and feel my feelings, which I've never been good at. Actually, it feels like I'm constantly intellectualizing and self-optimizing because maybe, I'll think my way to some mountaintop where then I don't have to feel things like grief or sadness or anger. Maybe doing enough inner work will allow me to transcend the human experience. Yeah, you can see how that's the issue. They're called feelings, not thinkings. And yet I lay in bed and I overthink and I act out fake conversations and I'm on Reddit threads and I'm listening to podcasts at 2 times speed and I'm trying to understand motives and trauma and psychology. Yet the more I resist doing the actual work, the more my body yells at me that something is deeply wrong. Unaddressed grief sits heavy in my chest. I've been waking up feeling panicky, and I'm just tired of the same patterns that I've always been in. So what have I been doing lately? Wake up, meditate, swim. So I've been meditating first thing in the morning. This is the playlist that I use. You're welcome. Of course, I'm deep into internal family systems therapy, which I can't shut up about. If you're not familiar with IFS, it's basically talking to all the inner parts of yourself. It gets real woo-woo and deep, but all you need to know is that when you have emotions come up and when you actually stop to feel them in your body and talk to them, you realize that they're actually childhood parts of you that are acting out because they're trying to protect you. It's an internal family system, and you, yourself, capital S, are the parent. Yippee. And doing these meditations, like actually doing them every single day, has been wild. I sit there and I listen as Dr. Richard Schwartz tells me, ask what it wants you to know
about what it's trying to do for you, why it's working so hard, and don't think of the answer. Just wait and see what comes from that place in your body. And then the follow-up question to that is, what's it afraid would happen if it didn't do this job inside of you?
And this is where the exciting shit happens. I have one hand on my heart and one hand on my tummy, and I feel my feelings. Like, actually. I just let my body speak to me, I become aware of where my feelings are located, and I just observe those sensations. And then I observe what stories pop up in response to those sensations. I begin to map it all out. My intellectualizer part, my OCD part, my anxiety part. These are my protectors, all working in tandem, sounding the alarms and devising elaborate plans. When I ask these protector parts why they're so scared, they tell me, if I don't work hard enough, you could get hurt and be left alone. You'd be consumed by depression and then turn comatose from the sadness and then probably get stuck until you die. My panic says it panics because it wants to keep me awake and alert and alive. It protects me because it loves me so much. My OCD is convinced it can crack the code to feeling safe and loved. My intellectualizing says feelings are stupid and being smart and logical is the only way to rise above. They're protecting the most vulnerable parts of me. Sadness, existential loneliness, rejection. When I complain to my therapist about how painful it is to feel those emotions and isn't there something I can do to make it better, she tells me, Esther, what is the alternative? There is no silver bullet. The silver bullet is just allowing yourself to feel things. And I don't know why, but something about that just made it click. Because what is the alternative? I feel things because I am a human being. I guess I could turn into like a robot or like get high or avoid everything, but I'm beginning to realize that my heartbreak is actually just what gets me more in touch with my humanness. I guess this is the whole point of like being alive and stuff. So I let myself feel sad. I tell my sadness I'm sorry that it has been so wounded, but I'm fully witness to it now. I can hold space for it and remind my protector parts that I won't turn comatose and die. They can let me sit here. I'm 26 and an adult, and I can take care of myself. The feeling won't last forever. And guess what? It actually didn't even feel that bad. And I even thanked my sadness for loving so well, and I felt something shift within me. So I try it with a different emotion. I tell existential loneliness that it's actually not alone. I will never leave. Good things are made for me. Another shift. I tell anger that I understand it wants to protect me from unjustified harm. I remind it that we can hold boundaries while not taking things personally. Another shift. Morning by morning, what has felt dark and twisted and overwhelming starts loosening up inside me. I cry and cry and cry. I let my parts finally relax after a lifetime of overworking themselves against threats that actually aren't even real. I've realized that no, love is never actually taken, it's just covered by a burden, aka painful stories and lies. But love is always there. Even when someone compliments me, nothing actually ever changes. Every single moment is the exact same. The truth has been and always will be that love exists within me and nothing can harm the source. Mind you, this is the first thing I do in the morning, so to reset my vagus nerve, I like to go swimming. So my pool is salted and heated, which is really nice. I like to do laps going back and forth and back and forth. The only type of exercise I can do right now with my knee injury, but it's nice to be somewhere with no distractions. Water kind of forces you to be present, and unsurprisingly, I get real woo-woo with swimming also. I hold my breath and go underwater and tell myself that the water is actually just love made manifest. I let myself be engulfed. I stare at the sunlight that refracts everywhere, tell myself affirmations and prayers. I belong here. This is all made for me. I practice being like air and water, easy. I am letting go of rigidity and defensiveness and performance. I feel it all, from my head to my fingertips. I read somewhere that emotions scientifically only last about 90 seconds, and that they're only prolonged because of the stories that we keep feeding into them. So instead of saying that this is unbearable and this always happens to me and things aren't gonna get better and I'm broken and I'm not good enough and I'm gonna die, I just let everything exist. I stop resisting and I start listening instead. I respond from my higher self and not my burdened parts. I tell myself that I'm honored. I'm not gonna cry. I tell myself that I'm honored to participate in the experience of being a human. I guess this is what healing looks like. Hey, Esther. I'm literally me and I'm being witnessed to me. Should I keep doing this? Should we keep doing this? Did you enjoy this? This is a pen, and I'm using it for my microphone. And therefore such like that. Okay, bye.